Yeah. Everybody is able to see my screen. Can anyone please confirm that you're able to see my screen? Yes? Okay, fine. So, thank you everyone for joining this particular session. So, in spite of your busy Sunday, you have taken some time to attend this Power BI training. So, myself, to give my introduction about myself, I am Janardhan Patipaka. Totally, I have 9.6 years of experience into this teaching of different software training courses, and I'm the director of JP Study Circle. So today we are here to discuss something on Power BI and SQL training. Okay, so this is about quite introduction about it. It's been 18 batches. This is the 19th batch that we have running for Power BI and SQL. Yeah. So coming to this Power BI, first, what is the meaning? First, we need to understand why we need to learn the Power BI. Okay. So the simple answer for this, if you ask a simple question, what is Power BI? Just Power BI, it is a tool. So the meaning of BI is business intelligence. Okay. So Power BI is a tool. With the help of this tool, we will connect to the data. From the data, we'll try to create some visuals and we'll share that visuals to the client. So this is a tool which will be working on the data. See, when you look at the present world, in every sector, there is so much of data because we need to understand how much data is generated every day. So according to the latest estimates, they are saying there is more than 328.7 million terabytes of the data is being generated every day. Okay, so you can see 1 terabyte is equal to, so this is the 1 trillion, more than 1 trillion, 9,507,000,000. Some this type of the data is being generated every day. Okay, because what is the reason behind this? Why this data is generating at a fast speed? Because right now we are in a world where we are depend, everything has become online and hourly spending upon the internet has been increased. Okay, so that's why when you see about this data I generated like from 2010 to 2025, so 2010 or 2011, 12, 30s, you can see this zettabytes of the data. It is very less data is generated because initially there is a file based system, so everything is not into the online, so the data generation is not that much fast when compared to the recent years. When you look at this particular graph from 2019, you can see the data is generating at a very rapid speed. The reason being, in the 2019, the world has experienced a situation called as COVID pandemic. In this situation, the hourly spending upon the internet of a person has increased and everything went on online. So we have system to the a type of digitalization is adopted at the rapid phase from 2019. So it's maybe like taking a passport, or it's maybe applying for a bank loan, or it may be for anything. We are depending upon app-based system or online-based system. So every click that you make on an internet, suppose I am searching for a policy on insurance, I am searching of a policy for personal loan, I am searching for some real estate to see about to purchase some house, or everything at the back end, every click that you make on internet back end, it is generating some data. So as when you look at the, when you, in case of India, when the Modi government came into the picture, so that we have opted for the lot of digitalization. So we have shifted to the from paper work to the paperless work. So that's why there is a tremendous data is generating at the back end. Now the problem with the companies, we have the lot of the data. Now the world is flooded out with a lot of data. Now a world is looking for a tool which capture the data. From that, it will try to create some visuals or report so that a business, a client can use that information to optimize his business. Suppose you are running a business, suppose a Flipkart, daily some thousands of transactions, some lots of transactions will take place for the Flipkart through this online purchase. But every transaction, it will create some data at the back end. So if you provide the data, if the Flipkart, like if the company salesperson, if you want to analyze the data, if the data is in the form of Excel or in the form of the tables, so it is becomes very hard for him to analyze that particular data. And you want to see that analyzed data in the form of some beautiful visuals, some reports. So Power BI is a tool which will connect with that particular data. From the data, it will create some visuals or report so that the client can analyze his business so that he can optimize his business in the future. In the same way, we have seen like why there is a lot of data is being generated at the back end. Now we are living in the world of mobile apps, and there is a rapid penetration of social media sites. You can see the different social media platforms very active on the internet. It may be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp, LinkedIn. So at least in any one of the phone, we cannot code any person you don't have this particular apps in your mobile. It may be some banking apps, it may be the study apps, it may be apps which are related to your some purchasing the groceries like Amazon, Flipkart. There are a lot of apps being installed in your system. Now the world is moving in a mobile apps. Everything has become the digitalization is after at a rapid pace. That's why the data is generating at the back end, because I already said that every click that you make on internet at the back end, it is capturing the data. Now the problem with the companies, they have this data, they have been the data captured in their database. Now they want to use that data, they want to use the data and generate some insights from the data that will help their business in terms of expansion or in terms of generating some revenue. Now here, the Power BI is a tool called as BI means business intelligence. Now with the help of this Power BI, we can connect to the data. From the data, you can create some visuals or reports and we can share it to the client. So this is as simple why we have depending upon this Power BI. Now things you need to know, I already said this data is generating at the very rapid speed. So you can see about 1.7 megabytes of the data, new information will be created on every second. And when you see in the last 2 years, like maybe 2024 to 2025, 90% of the data is being generated in the last 2 years. When you compare last 20 or 30 or 50 years, when you see of 2024 and 25, the 90% of the data which is available on the internet is generated mostly in the last 2 years. That means you can see how much the data is moving, how much data is generating at the fast speed when this digitalization came into the picture. And everything you have the mobile phone, like when Jio entered into the market, and the cost of the internet, like the cost has become very less. And the smartphone, the culture of the smartphone, like every individual is having the smartphones or iPhone, then the digitalization process has been increased, and Google processes more than 40,000 searches every second. Every search that you make on in the Google, it is generating the data. Okay, and the number of the person you are using the internet, like more than 3.7 billion humans are using this internet. And the YouTube watches also increasing. Users are watching like more than 4 lakhs YouTube videos are every minute. So this indicates, due to this rapid penetration of this social media platform, or due to the mobile apps, and lot of generation of the lot of data is generating at the back end. Now every company is looking for a tool how effectively you can utilize this data to generate some business insights. Now here comes the Power BI. So we can ask, is there is a demand for the Power BI? As long as there is a demand for the data, so there will be demand for a tool which works on that particular data. Because this generation of the data will goes on increasing, but it never stops, because we are in the arena of this digitalization. Okay. Then first, if you want to understand the Power BI, first you need to understand what is the meaning of BI, business intelligence. Then you can able to understand what is exactly the meaning of Power BI. So, what is the meaning of business intelligence? In Power BI, BI indicates business intelligence. The meaning of business intelligence means by using some tools, like here the tool you can say it as Power BI. The tool that you are studying is Power BI. By using some tools, what you will do, you will collect the data. Okay, you will collect the data. And after collecting the data, you will start to analyze that particular data. Whether it belongs to finance, or it will belongs to retail, it belongs to insurance, or it belongs to some manufacturing. You will try to analyze that data. And after that, you will transform that particular data. What is meant by transformation? So if every the data which is stored, suppose if the place where you store the data, we call it as data source. Suppose now I'm taking a demo. If I want to store the data, how many people are attended the demo, I will store the data in Excel. That Excel is my data source. So if my organization is very huge, like I have more than 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs, 3 lakhs of customers. So instead of storing that it in the Excel, I will store my data in one database. It may be SQL or Oracle. That is called as database. The place where the organization store the business information, we call it as data source. Okay. What happens in the business intelligence process with the help of some tools like Power BI? First, you will collect to the data. After collecting the data, you will try to analyze this data. And after analyzing the data, you will try to transform that particular data. Why we need to transform your data? Because every data which is stored, it will not come in a structured format. Very simple. If I ask everyone like attend the demo, if provide your mobile number or provide your address, so the mobile number for that heading, some will give as contact number, some will give the name heading as mobile number, some will give the heading as mob number, some will give the c.no. So they will give the different type of headings to that particular mobile number, contact number. So that data we can't, we will not, we'll call the data as unstructured data. So in order to use the data in this Power BI, you need to make the data from unstructured format to a structured format. That means to unified standard form. You need to bring the data. That's why we need to perform a step called as transformation. And once you collect the data, or once you analyze the data, and once you transform the data, from the data you will try to create some valuable and meaningful information. So how you will create the valuable and meaningful information? Yes, what happens? Suppose a client approached you. The client, you call it as Flipkart or some Amazon. They will give the data. As a Power BI developer, what you will do? You will install the Power BI into your system, the tool. From that, you will collect the data which is given by the client Amazon. Then you try to analyze the data. What type of the tables are there? How many columns are there? What type of the data it is? Then you will try to transform the data. So if the date format is not correct, or if something like if any mistakes, spelling mistakes are there, if the data is, suppose if for some in the date column you are giving dd YY format, but in some column you are giving YY dd format. Suppose if your date is not uniform, so you will try to convert the data into uniform. So that process we call it as transformation. Transformation nothing but handling the null values, handling the missing values, handling the duplicate values. Those comes under the transformation. And once the transformation is done, after collecting the data, from this data, you will try to create some valuable and meaningful information. So in this valuable and meaningful information will be providing in the form of some visuals. In the Power BI, what happens? We have some hundreds of the visuals will be there for particular, and you will show the data which is provided by the client in the form of some visuals, so that they can interpret their business easily. And what happens if you provide that information? What the client will, you will provide this meaningful information in the form of graphs or reports, and you will share it to the client. So now client will, what he will use with that reports? He will try to improve his business process. He will try to optimize his business. He can understand what are the products which are moving fast in the market. What are the products? What are the regions they are performing better? What are the reasons that he should concentrate? Which category of the products are performing better? Which subcategories of the products are performing better? Which products are not performing better? Okay, so he can analyze last 5 year sales, last 10 year sales. So he can analyze that data when you provide in the form of some visuals, and from that he can take the business decision. So how to optimize his business? So this entire process we call it as business intelligence. Now, Power BI is a tool which will perform each aspect of this business intelligence. That's why the Power BI, we are calling it as business intelligence tool. That means business intelligence Power BI is a tool. With the help of Power BI, who will provide this data? First thing, it is a client who will provide to the data. And if you join as a Power BI developer, what you will do? You will download the Power BI tool or Power BI software into the system. With the help of the tool, you will connect the data. You will analyze that particular data. If the data is not a structured format, you will transform that particular data. And after transforming the data, and once the data is clean, from that you will create some visuals. That visuals create will carry some valuable and meaningful information, and you will share that report to whom? You will share the report again to the client. And client, what the client will do? Client, with the help of that report, the client will analyze this business, and he try to optimize his business, and he will try to improve his business. This entire process we call it as business intelligence. So Power BI is a tool which is helpful for this business intelligence. That's why we call it as Power BI. They will call it as BI tool or business intelligence tool. Now we have spoke about the business intelligence. So first you need to understand what are the key components are there in the business intelligence. Okay, the first key component is, like, see, as a Power BI developer, first what you will do, you will install one software called as Power BI. Okay, so it is a open software that you can install free from the Google, or you can install it from Microsoft. So there is nothing to pay, that it's a free software which is available, that you can install the Power BI. So what are the three key components which are there in the business intelligence? See, what is meant by the data source we have spoke? Data source is nothing but the place where the client will store their business information. We call it as data source. Suppose it is a small organization, they will store it in the Excel because data size is less. But if the data size is huge, they may store in the databases. You may call it as Oracle database, or you can call it as SQL database. So now this data is stored by the client, and you have installed the Power BI desktop into a system. Now client has approached you for one project, so they have the data. Now what is the first step? If you want to do a report for the client, first step you need to collect the data. This step we call it as data collection. Okay, first you need to collect the data. Now the data is provided, the client will give the access to your data source. He will give the credential and authentication, you will load the data into your Power BI desktop. So data collection is done. Now the data is loaded into your Power BI. What is the next step? The data processing and data transformation. So don't expect the data should be in a structured format. So the data may be in unstructured format. So in the Power BI, we will study in the Power BI, there is a one software called as Power Query, which is an ETL tool, which will helpful to transform your data, to process the data, to convert the unstructured data into structured data. Okay. The second step in the business intelligence, we call it as data processing or data transformation. So within the Power BI, we have one software called as ETL software called as Power Query. With the help of that Power Query, we can able to transform our data. Yes, once the data is transformed, then what you will do in the business intelligence, you do the data analysis. So what is the data analysis? So you will see the client how he's storing the data. He's storing, like most of the clients, they will store the data in the form of tables. So you do the analysis, like what type of the data is there, how many tables are there, and if the data is, and how you can establish the relationship between the tables, and how to create a relationship, and how to create the data model between those tables. So those type of the data analysis, and we try to establish some relationship called as star schema and snowflake schema that you will study when you enter into the Power Pivot. So once the tables are loaded into, you will do the data analysis and how to establish the relationship between the tables. So that process we call it as data analysis. Once your data, your visuals, you have collected the data, you have cleaned your data, you have established the relationship in the tables, you have established the data model, your data analysis is perfect. Then you will come to data visualization. You have the data in the Power BI. We have many visuals will be there, and you need to select for which type of the data, which is the perfect visual, which visual you need to select for which data based upon the client requirement. So you will try to create the visuals from your visuals from the data. So that step we call it as data visualizations. Okay, by using the visuals in the Power BI, by taking the data from the client, you will try to create some visuals. That process we call it as data visualization. So all the visuals will come together and we'll try to build a report. That process we call it as reporting. Okay, some you have different visuals, like you have 2 4 5 5 10 visuals. You will bring that visuals and you will try to create the report. So it may be a sales report or finance report, or it may be manufacturing report, or it may be insurance, or it may be any type of related to any type of the report. You will, with the help of this visual, and finally you will create the report. So you have the 10 reports. Okay, 10 reports. It may be, suppose if you have worked for an organization, it may be of some HR department, it may be finance department, PF department. So from different type of the reports, if you add the visuals from the different report, and if you pin it to one dashboard, that we call it as dashboard. This dashboard means it contains high level business, high level information of the business. Suppose if you are making a dashboard for CEO, so that CEO will be not, he will be not interested to go and give the insight of each and every department. Just he want the high level information. So high level information from HR department, from finance department, or it may be processing department. So he want total high level information that will pick up some standard visuals from different reports, and he will make a pin it to the dashboard. So dashboard is nothing but it contains the visuals from different reports. From different type of visuals, you will try to create report. From the different type of the report, you will pick up some visuals and you will create the dashboard. This dashboard will contains the high level information of the business. So this entire process we call it as business intelligence. Okay. So once, as a Power BI developer, once you install the Power BI and any client will come approach us for your project, the first step is called as data collection. You will collect the data. Second step, you will process and transform that particular data. And third, you will try to analyze your data analysis. And if your data is clean and if your analysis is done, now then you will try to create the visuals by using the Power BI. From the visuals, you will try to create the reports. And from the reports, you will try to create the dashboard. So this entire process, we call it as business intelligence. Okay. For doing the data collections, for doing this ETL process, data collection, data transformation, within the Power BI, we have Power Query. For doing this, that is the software within the Power BI. And for doing the data analysis, we have the Power Pivot, which will helpful for the data analysis and creating the relationship. And for creating these visuals, we have Power View, which is the component of Power BI. From that, you can create some visuals or reports. So this is called as business intelligence. So if you want to understand the Power BI, first you need to understand what is business intelligence. Then you can able to understand the Power BI much better. If somebody asks in a simple way, what is Power BI? We call Power BI, they call it as business intelligence software. Okay. In a single word, they will call it as Power BI as business intelligence software. So if you ask someone, some people we call it as ETL software. Okay. Why Power BI we call it as ETL software? And first you need to understand what is full form of this ETL. Okay. E stands for extraction. What is meant by extraction mean the process of connecting the data, from data source to your Power BI, or the process of loading this data, is this process we call it as extraction. Okay. E stands for extraction. Suppose if the client approves for the project, where he will store the data, he will store the data in the database, some SQL database. From there, you are trying to extract the data into Power BI. If you want to perform the analysis in Power BI, you need to extract the data. You need to bring the data from the source system into your Power BI, right? That process we call it as extraction. Now, T for transformation. Why we will do the transformation? Because the data may not be stored in a structured format. Okay, the data may be not uniform. Okay, the data is not in a organized format. So by using the tools in the Power BI, T stands for transformation, that you will transform the data into standardized format. And you are extract the data, and if you are transform the data into a structured format, then what you will do, L stands for load, and you will load the data into your Power. So this is called this power, with the help of this Power BI in the Power BI. For doing this ETL, you have one software called as Power Query, which will perform this ETL. That's why the Power BI, they are calling it as ETL software. And if you ask someone, they are calling this Power BI as data analysis software, because with the help of the Power BI, in the Power BI there is one component called as Power Pivot. These components will be studying in the coming slides. In the Power BI, we have one component called as Power Pivot. What this Power Pivot do? Suppose the client, how the client will store the data? The client will store the data in the form of tables, right? Tables. So if you want to build a visual from table 1 and table 2, your data required, we are building a visual which contains the data from table 1 and table 2. And if you want to build a visual, so first I'm using, for building a particular visual, I'm using these two tables. So first you need to establish the relationship between these tables. Okay. And first you need to establish the relationship between the table. Those type of building the relationship, or building the some schema, what we call star and snowflake schema, that you will studying in the coming classes. And with the help of this process, we call it as data analysis. To do the data analysis, we have a software called as Power Pivot within the Power BI. With the help of Power Pivot, we'll try to create the data model. We'll try to create the establish the relationship between the tables. So as the Power BI is doing the data analysis process, some people are calling this Power BI as data analysis software. And some people, they are calling it as visualization software. Yes, most of the people, what is called as Power BI means, Power BI is nothing but simply you have the data. From the data, you will try to create the visuals. Client will approach you with some data. You will use the data and you will create some visuals and you will share it to the client. That's why Power, simply the Power BI, we call it as visualization software. So if I store the data, then you can ask me, sir, what is the need of creating the visuals? So if there is some data is coming, if there is some transactions, or suppose you are a CEO of the company, or if you want to store some 1 lakh or 10 lakhs of the rows in Excel, whether you can interpret your data easily? No. So if you want to interpret your data, if you want to generate some insight from the data, instead of storing in the form of tables, or instead of storing in the form of tables, it is better if you store in the form of some visuals. It becomes easy for you to understand. You see, it is easier to interpret your business, how your business is performing. So with the help of Power BI, we will try to create the visuals. That's why they are calling the Power BI as a visualization software. And from this visuals, you will try to create the reports, some sales report, HR report. It may be different type of the reports that you will be report. With the help of that visuals, finally the visuals, will club all the visuals and will generate some report for the client. So with the help of the Power BI, we are creating the reports. That's why they are calling it as reporting software. Now entire this process, this ETL, data analysis, visualization, all this process comes under the data analytics, and some people are calling as data analytics software. And all this process, whether ETL, data analytics, visualization, reporting, data analytics, it is coming under the business intelligence process. That's why they are simply calling it as Power BI is a BI software or business intelligence software. Okay, there are different names that will begin. If they are calling it as ETL software, they are speaking in the context of the Power Query. If they are calling it as data analysis, they are speaking in the context of Power Pivot. If they are calling the Power BI as visualization or reporting software, they are speaking in the context of Power BI. But with the help of the Power BI, it is performing all the content components which are required for the business intelligence. That's why in the simple, a singular word, you can say the Power BI is a business intelligence software. See, I'm saying why there is a need to create the data in the form of some visuals, right? So visuals is nothing but, see, suppose if I data represent the data in the form of this bar chart or sales chart. So by looking at this, which region is having the highest sales? By looking at the bar chart, you can see simply the category A, red, it is having the highest sales. But if This same I represent in the form of Excel. You need to go and see, and you need to go and work on each and every row, and you need to see which is having the highest sales. And when coming to this pie chart, this showing the sales by region. If I ask anyone which region is having highest sales, directly you can see here 45% North America is having the highest sales. And what is the second highest sales? You can call directly, you can say there's Europe, which is having 39% second highest sales. Then coming to Asia. So when you represent this in the form of visuals, you can interpret the data very fast and you can generate the insights from the data very fast. If same data, if I stored in the form of Excel, in a table, so you need to go and see each region how North America and their percentage. So it becomes take a lot of time. So if it is of only 5 or 10 rows, if you store in the form of Excel and graph, is not a problem. But you think your data is having some hundred or millions or lakhs of rows. If you store the data in the form of some Excel and the tables, it becomes hard for you to interpret your data. That's why representing the data in the form of the visuals is gaining the importance nowadays. And Power BI is an effective tool which will convert your raw data. From the raw data, you can try to create some visuals. From that visuals, you can create the reports. And these reports are shared to the client so that he can interpret his business process. So this is called as Power BI. Next, you have seen data analysis. We have seen the Power BI doing the data analysis. In the previous slide, we have seen the Power BI is performing the process of data analysis. So first you need to understand what is data analysis. Okay, there may be some freshers who are attending this session. First, you need to understand at this end of session, like everyone able to understand what is Power BI, what is business intelligence, what is the need of learning the Power BI. Is there is a demand for this particular tool in the market? So those questions will be answered at the end of this 1 hour of session. First, you need to understand what is meant by data analysis. So, what is to understand the data analysis in the first class? In the first, I have said what is meant by data source. I have said what is meant by data source. The place where the organizations are storing their business informations is called as data source. So, suppose you think there is data source called OLTP. Okay, OLTP means that place where the company store their business transactions. We call it as OLTP. Okay, online transactional processing. So the problem with this is this data contains more table. Here, the data is not transformed well. Here, whatever the data which is stored by the client, we call it as unstructured data. Unstructured data. The data is not structured because unstructured means the date may be not uniform. The data types may not be uniform. There may be some formatting errors might be there. There may be some type of null values are there. So those data we call it as unstructured.
Class of the
From this data, OLTP database, the place where the business will store the business information we call as OLTP. To this OLTP data, we will apply the ETL transformation. What is meant by ETL transformation? ETL means the process E stands for extraction. That means we'll transform the data with the help of this ETL software. Like think it is in the Power BI. In the Power BI, we have a software called as Power Query. With the help of this Power Query, we will do the ETL transformation and we'll convert that into OLAP database. That means OLAP means it contains the structured data. It contains the standardized data. It contains the uniform data. Okay. So this is the data from this OLAP database. If you want to build the report, you will directly connect to the OLAP database instead of OLTP. The reason being, in the OLTP, the data may not be in the structured format. It will be data will be in the unstructured format. You will apply the ETL process on this. You will try to process the data. You will try to clean the data by applying the ETL transformation. And you will convert the data into structured data and you will store it in OLAP database, online analytical process. And we will connect for building the report. You will try to connect with this OLAP database. From this OLAP database, we'll try to create the visuals. From the visuals, what you will do, you will try to create the reports. And this reports will contain actionable information. What is meant by actionable information? With the help of this reports, the client will take his business action. So that is called as actionable information. And once you create the report, and to whom you will share the reports, you will share the report to the client. So it is who will give the data to you. It is a client who will give the data. So once you join in any project, like if you are working from finance or banking project, who will give the data? Like the banking, the particular bank will, they will give the data to you. So if a client is from healthcare, so they will give the healthcare data to you. So you will connect that data, you will apply the transformation, you will connect to the database, you will try to create the visuals and reports from the data. Again, you will share that report to them. Initially, you get the data in the form of, suppose in the form of SQL that you have tables. From that, you have created the reports and you will share the report to the clients. And what the client will do, they will analyze this business with the help of the report that you will share, and he will try to take his business action and how to optimize his business. So this process we call it as data analysis. And very important, it is never recommended to create the reports directly on OLTP data. You will not directly connect. You can connect to the report OLTP. You can get the visuals, but the visuals will not carry any meaning. You will get the wrong information in that visual. So to move the data from OLTP to OLAP, we need ETL software. So what is the ETL tool which is present in Power BI? The ETL tool we call it as Power Query. So the three components that we'll be studying in the Power BI. The first one we call it as Power Query, which is ETL tool. Power Pivot, we'll see how to establish the relationship between the tables. The third component called as Power View. With that help, with that of Power View, we can able to create the visuals. So this entire process is called as data analysis. Okay. Now we have seen, like I'm saying, that this OLTP contains unstructured data, OLAP contains the structured data. So you may ask a simple question, sir, what is the difference between structured and unstructured data? What happens if I create the visuals from unstructured data? That is the thing that you need to understand. So suppose I'm giving a very simple example. Suppose the serial number, country and sales. This is the United States. Suppose if I say the United States, some people will store that United States, call with the United States in different names. United States, US, USA, U.S.A, United States of America. You may think these five names are different, but when you closely observe, all these five names are indicating a single country name called as USA or United States. So if I want to have the sales country the, for a particular product, how much the sales are happening on the particular country, you can see 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So you have stored the data, you have given us names in a different conventions or different names. And if you try to create a visual, you will get the visual like this. For United States, it's 500 sales. For USA, it is like this 400. For USA, it is 300. Okay. For USA, it is 200 like this. Okay. US 200. This is the unstructured data, because this is wrong interpretation, right? All this 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, this 4 to 5, when you club all this, it all this data will comes under single USA only itself. So when you club all this, you will get the final value as 1500. This 1500 belongs to USA, but you have given the wrong name convention. For every name, it is creating a sales, and it is representing in the form of bar chart. So this is called as unstructured data. Now, same data, what I will do, I know this United States, US, USA as comes under the United States. I will convert all this United States, US to United States, USA to United States, USA to United States, United States of America to United States. So this is the sales. And United Kingdom, UK, both are same. I convert this United Kingdom and United Kingdom to 100, 200. Now, with this data, if I create the visuals, I will get this graph. For United States, what is the total sale? It will come 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. When you club all this, you will get 1500. Yes, 500, 900, 93, 12, 13, 14, 15, 1500. And United Kingdom, 100 plus 200, 300. So total sales of United States is 1500, and total sales of UK 100 plus 200, 300. So this is the correct visual. Now, if you, that means you have transformed your data, right? You have converted all this data into a form United States, and you have applied some transformation in the data. And this data, without that applying the transformation, we call it as unstructured data. If you build the data from unstructured results, you will get the visuals, but you will get the wrong values in the result. in your visual. If you create the report from a structured data after applying the transformation, here you have applied the transformation manually. But within the Power Query, within the Power BI, you have a tool called as Power Query. With the help of that, you can apply the transformation manually by using some menu-based option. You can apply the transformation. In the Power BI, you have 100 based of menu based option. With that, you can apply the transformation. And the beauty of Power Query is you will not write any code in the SQL or for other type of the tools. You will write some coding at the back end. Within the Power Query, you will not write any coding. Just you will play with the menu based options like which are there in the Excel. And backend Power Query will write the code by itself. That code we call it as M code or mashup language code that we will be discussing in the coming slides. So this is the importance of storing the data in the form of structured and unstructured format. Now, data analysis using the Power BI. I am saying in the data Power BI, we have Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, and with this slide, you can understand what are the different components which are there in Power Query, which are there in the Power BI. When we call the Power BI is not a single software. We can call the Power BI is a name for it is a collection of software. So once you understand, once if you want to create any reports in the Power BI, first you need to download one software called as Power BI Desktop. So in the next class after completing this demo, I will explain how you can install the Power BI Desktop into your system. So the first in the Power BI to create any report, you need to install one Power BI Desktop into your system. With the help of this Power BI only, you can develop the reports. That's why the Power BI Desktop we call it as developmental software. That means with the help of this tool, we can develop the report. That's why the Power BI Desktop we call it as developmental software. Within the Power BI Desktop, you have three components. The first component is called as Power Query. With the help of this Power Query, you will do the ETL process. That means you will try to extract the data. The client will store the data, like he will give the access data. And if you want to work upon that data, first you need to bring the data into your Power BI, right? You need to extract the data. You need to, once after extracting, T stands for transformation. If the data is not in an organized format, you will transform the data into a structured format. After transfer, L stands for load. You will load the data into your Power BI Desktop. Then you perform the data analysis. So to perform this ETL process within the Power BI, we have the Power Query. So first, out of the first 45 or 50 hours of the class, first 10 or 12 hours of the classes, we will be discussing about the Power Query, how to apply the ETL transformation for your data. That is Power Query. Now, the second component that we have discussed, Power Pivot. Power Pivot means once you loaded the data, every organization, how they will store the data, they will store the data in the form of tables. Now you will analyze the tables, analyze the particular tables. And after that, you will try to establish the relationship between the tables. Okay, and you will try to create the data model, a data model which is required for data analysis. So those type of things that you will be studying in Power Pivot. The data analysis part you will be discussing in the Power Pivot. In this Power Pivot, we are also discussing some topics related to the DAX also. Now, once you have loaded the data, you have processed your data, you have cleaned the data, you have identified the tables, you have established the relationship, you have developed the data model. Okay, now then comes to Power View. In the Power View, what happens within the Power BI, there is a component called as Power View where you have different type of the visuals, 40 to 50, 60 different types of the visuals. By using the data provided by the client, by using the visuals which are there in Power View, you will try to create the visuals and reports for your client. So the component of the Power BI which helps to create the visuals, which help to build the visuals, that component we call it as Power View. Power View. Within the Power BI desktop, you have Power Query for doing the transfer, ETL transformation, Power Pivot for creating the relationship or doing the data analysis. We have Power View for creating the visual. So entire these three components will come under Power BI desktop. So that's why the Power BI we call it as developmental software.
For last week,
Somebody please go on mute. Somebody is talking. Please go on mute.
2 weeks అయింది 2 Sundays అర్జెంట్ ఏంటి
చపాతీలతో సైతం బ్రెడ్తో సైతం నవ్వులుతోంది
Nanda, please.
కంగారు పెట్టి వాళ్ళకి ఏం చేయించక చేయించిన కొద్ది ఇంకా బాధ అది ఒకసారి అవ్వదు ఆవిడ అలా
Nanda, can you
ఉన్నది
please go on mute? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Is my screen is visible? Can anyone please confirm? Is my screen is visible?
yes
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Right. Now, yes. See, in the Power BI desktop, we call it as developmental software. We have the Power Query, which is the ETL software, which we have Power Pivot. With the help of this, you can create a relationship between the tables. We have Power View. With the help of this, we can create the visuals or we can build the visuals. So entire these components will comes under this Power BI desktop where you can develop your reports. That's why the Power BI, we call it as developmental software. Now, with this Power BI, we have developed the reports. Where you have developed the reports? You have developed the report in your local system. Suppose the client has approached for your project to do the report for that particular project. You have download the Power BI desktop into your system, which is open free software. You have downloaded, you have applied the transformation, build the relationship, and you have created the visuals and you have developed the report. Where the report will sit now in the Power BI desktop. Now, you want to share the reports to whom? You want to share the reports to the client, right? So now how the client will access your report, which is sitting in your local system. That means for the client to access this report, he needs some online cloud-based software where he needs some place where we can publish the report. From there, the client can access the report. So that is called as Power BI service. Once you have developed the report, you will publish the report in Azure, one cloud-based platform. Azure-based cloud-based platform will be there. In that cloud-based platform, you will publish the report. From there, the client will access your report. So the cloud-based platform where you will publish your report, which is developed in your local system, that cloud-based system, we call it as Power BI service. So it is the online cloud-based platform where you can publish the reports that you have developed. From the client from Power BI service, you can give the access to the permission to the client and client can access the report from there. So that is called the fourth component. We call it as Power BI service. So we'll be discussing more than 10 hours about Power BI service, how you can share the report to the clients, how you can enable the incremental refresh, how you can give some security permissions like implementing row level security. So those type of many different how to create some apps. So everything that you can study in the Power BI service. Okay. That is the fourth component. So total Power BI has Power BI, Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, and fourth component we call it as Power BI service. Once you complete these four components, then you will become the master in the Power BI. Now we have Power BI report server. Power BI report server means instead of publishing your reports into the cloud-based platform, we're publishing in the Power BI report service. We call it as on-premises, but 99.9% they are using Power BI service. This Power BI report server, they are not on-premise service. They are not using that. And there is another component of Power BI called as Power BI mobile. What is meant by Power BI mobile? Mean it's like a mobile app. It is used for viewing your reports on mobile. So every report that if you publish in the form of Power BI mobile, you can see in the form of app in your mobile. That is called mobile apps, which is a feature which is present in the Power BI. But the major thing is we'll be concentrating on Power BI desktop in the Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, and Power BI service. Now, what we have discussed in the last 40 or 14 minutes, this entire thing will be covered only in this single slide. So if you join now at this point of time is not a problem. Just if you understand at the end of this session, if you are able to understand this Power BI architecture and your job is done. Okay, the purpose of joining the session is done. First, you need to understand the entire Power BI architecture, right from the source, right from the connecting to the data source of the client, and right from publishing and sharing report to the client. If you're able to build a flow, then it it indicates that you have understood this class. So definitely they will ask the question on what is the Power BI architecture. Very simple. The Power BI architecture is nothing but, see, the client first, you once you install the Power BI desktop into your system, so the client will store the data. What is meant by data source we have discussed, right? The place where the client will store their business information, we call it as data source. So if it is a smaller file, if the data is small, that the data size is less, they will store the data in the form of Excel files. If the data size is very high, that contains some hundreds or millions of rows, so Excel cannot support that. They can store the data in the form of databases, maybe it's SQL Server or Oracle database. So they will connect to the data. It's like the client is storing the data in the form of this databases. Now, if you want to create the report as a Power BI developer, what you will do? You will install Power BI Desktop, this open software, into your system. Now, you will try to create, you will try to connect to the data. In order to work on this data, the first step you need to connect, extract the data. Okay. And you need to transform the data. If the data, this data may not be in the structured format, right? The data may be an unstructured format. So once you do the data, once you connect the data, you will make the transformations. It may be standardized in the date format, so it may be standardized in the, so if some places it will have capital letters or some letters it will have small letters. Then you will try to format the data, or you see the whether data types are correct. So everything that you make the transformations. Once the transformation done, you will try to load the data. So in order to do this ETL transformation, in order to connect the data in the Power BI desktop, this job will be done by Power Query. So in the Power Query, we have some hundreds of menu-based options. With that 100 menu-based options, different type of menu-based option, you will try to transform your data. It will help to perform this ETL process. We have the software within the Power BI desktop. We call it as Power Query. So with the help of the Power Query, we can connect to the data. With the help of the Power Query, we can do the transformation. So yes, once you transform the data, okay, once you have processed your data, then we'll move to the Power Pivot. So you have the different type of the tables, right? First, you will try to analyze that what type of the tables are there. Suppose you have table A and table B. How you connect to the table A and table B? You will see whether there are some common elements which are there in the table A and table B. You will connect employee ID to employee ID. Suppose geography ID to geography ID, department ID to department ID, location ID to location ID, product ID to product ID. Okay, fact ID to fact ID. Like that, you will try to analyze different type of the tables, and you will try to establish the relationship between the tables. And after that, you will try to create one data model. So entire thing that will be done by the Power Pivot. That means this data analysis part, establishing the relationship, building the data model, building the schema, you will do it in the Power Pivot. This Power Pivot, we call it as data model, which is called as heart of Power BI, that we'll be discussing in depth in coming classes, where you discuss about all the components of the Power Pivot. Yes, you have cleaned the data, you have processed the data, you have loaded the tables, you have established the relationship, and your data analysis is done. Then the third, you will try to create the reports. You will try to create the reports on structured data, because transformation you have done, you have established between the relationship between the tables. Now there comes now the Power View. In the Power View, within the Power BI, we have the different components will be there in the Power View. So with the help of different graphs are there, with different types of the graphs will be there. So with the help of that graphs, you will try to create. With the help of, we have different type of visuals, I can say. In the Power View, we will have different type of the visual. And for this particular data, which visual will be sounds good, which will visual will be fit good for that particular data. With the help of that visuals in the Power View, you will try to create the reports. So these visuals that you develop in the Power View will contain the actionable information. That means with the help of that information you provide in the form of visuals, the business, the persons will take some business action. That's why we call it as visuals contains actionable information. Now in the Power BI desktop, you've done the transformation, you have established the relationship between the tables, you have developed the reports. Now the report is sitting where? In the Power BI desktop. You have developed the report, and in the Power BI desktop, you are developing the entire. You are from the connecting the data source till the development of the report. You are doing it in the Power BI desktop by installing the Power BI desktop. That's why the Power BI desktop we are calling it as developmental software. Now your report is ready, is sitting in Power BI desktop. Now you need to publish the report, right? So in order to publish the report, you need to have some cloud-based software called as platform. You need to have one platform. This is the cloud-based platform where you can publish the report that you have developed. That cloud-based platform, we call it as Power BI service. Once you develop the report in the Power BI service, yes, you have developed the report, you are published in the Power BI report, and now your report is sitting in the Power BI service. Now you want to share the reports from the to whom client you need to share, right? From the Power BI service, you will share the report to the client, and the client will access your information from the Power BI service. And now he can access your report through mobile. He can access your report through the system. He can access your report through your laptop. So different platforms he can able to access the report. So this is called as Power BI architecture, right? From connecting to the data, applying the ETL transformations using Power Query, building the relationship and establish the data model by using Power Pivot, developing the visuals and reports by using Power View, publishing the reports into cloud-based platform called as Power BI service. From there, sharing the report to the client. So this entire architecture we call it as Power BI architecture. See here, client is the one who is providing the data. Who is providing the data? Client. Finally, you are sharing the report to him, client. But here the client has given the data in the form of some tables to the data source. You have installed the Power BI, you have converted that into some visuals and report and sharing that report to the client. And client can access the report and he can take the business decision from that. So this entire architecture, we call it as Power BI. The process, same that I am representing in the form of some diagram. See, Power BI is, so see, you are connected to the data source. From there, you have developed the report and you have developed the report and published into cloud-based software called Power BI service. And you are sharing the report. He can access through its system to the system, or he can access through his laptop, or you can access to mobile. So like this iPod, he can able to see this entire thing we can represent in the form of some graph. Okay. Now you can ask me Tableau versus Power BI. Why to learn the Power BI? That you can ask. Like previously for reporting, you can ask me for before Power BI. You are speaking about Power BI. What is the tool? What is the visualization tool which is there before Power BI? Before Power BI, the market leader in the visualization was that. The Tableau has previously every reports they used to do it in the Tableau, but now when the Power BI came into the picture in 2017, now the market share of the Tableau is slowly it is taken by the Power BI. Now Power BI is a market leader. Many of the migration projects, many of companies are migrating from the Tableau to Power BI. And in the coming years, because the product which is related by Power BI, it is comes from the Microsoft. You can see any report, any tool which is coming from the Microsoft will have the weightage in the market. You see the Excel when it was launched, your father's grandfathers has used the Excel, but still you are using the Excel. What is the reason? Because it is a product of Microsoft. They will try to constantly it will innovate. They will add some new features to that particular tool so that you can they can face the competition from their competitors. So there are many reasons why the Tableau is outperformed, why Power BI is outperforming Tableau. Integration with Microsoft ecosystem. Because when you go to the Power BI, it can integrate with other Microsoft ecosystem like Excel, Azure, SQL Server. These are the products of Microsoft, right? So the integration will be very easy when compared to the Tableau. For this seamless integration, you need to have some additional configuration. But Power BI is a product of Microsoft. Excel, Azure, SQL Server, these are also product of Microsoft. So integration with Microsoft ecosystem will become very easy. Next, cost effectiveness. When compared to the Tableau and Power BI, the cost of the Power BI, the initial cost is very less. But Tableau is having the higher initial cost. Both are doing the same duty. One doing at the low cost, one doing at the more cost. Definitely, the people will be going to the tool which is coming with the licensing costing very less. That's why the Power BI, due to the cost effectiveness, also Power BI has outperformed the Tableau. Ease of learning because it is very user friendly. A person from the non-technical background can learn the Power BI. Believe me, there is no prior knowledge. If you're from a non-technical background, no problem, you can learn Power BI. If you have zero knowledge on software, you can learn the Power BI. If you are from non-science, if you are from non-engineering graduate, then also you can learn the Power BI. Okay, so it is the ease of understanding, because totally it is a menu based options. It's like how you can play with the options which are present in your mobile phone. It may be in the Excel. So those type of the common sense if you have, then you can play with the Power BI. And another reason is Power Query. See, in the Power BI, you have one powerful ETL tool called as Power Query. So in this Power Query, the ETL capabilities, it is doing very fast. Hundreds of menu-based options without writing any code, you can make the transformation. Due to the presence of this ETL Power Query, this Power BI is outpaced this Tableau. Okay, we have seen in the Power BI, we have Power Query, which is ETL software, right? Due to the presence of this ETL tool, also the Power BI has outperformed the Tableau in doing this ETL transformations at a rapid speed. Security wise and governance also, it is very it has a robust security and governance. Security features are very good in case of Power BI. Power BI also, we have the security feature, but we require some additional configurations for that. Okay, in the security wise, see, whatever the data it is there, finally, if it is low cost, they will not bother, but only data security is also very important, right? So in terms of security and governance also, this Power BI is performing well when compared to the Tableau. Real-time data analytics, you can perform the data analytics very faster. Azure integration, because Azure is a product of Microsoft, right? So the integration is become very easy. Then community and learning opportunities, because with Power BI, what happens, there is called as Power BI community, which is there. So we have some hundreds, lakhs of users will be there, those who are using Power BI. Suppose if you are doing any work, you are stuck at some place in the Power BI. If you post that in the Power BI community, there are many people will be answering your question. So that community is very vibrant. That community is very active. So if you face any difficulty while doing project, if you post a question on the Power BI community, there are many people will be answering you. So that type of the community is there in Tableau, but it is not that much active. It is not that much vibrant when compared to the Power BI. And the last one is updates and innovations. I will put this point as first actually. The reason being, Power BI, why instead of 2017 it has launched in the market till 2026, why it is a market leader in the visualization? Reason being, this tool is updating month by month. It is innovating some new features. In the innovating some features like Copilot, it came into the picture. It is adding some additional features in the Power BI. Okay, so every like month on month or months on months, it is trying to innovate some features into Power BI, and that's why it is able to stand up the competition which is there in the field of this visualization. Okay, you can see the Excel, why Excel is still available in the market. You can see the different versions of the Excels are coming and launching. They're launching at the due period of time. That's why, because they're adding some type of features to the Excel. That's why there is no other tool which is replacing the Excel. Okay, in the same way, in the Power BI is also constant. See, in month by month, you will be getting some updates and innovations that you can see. Is with the Microsoft in the Power BI, they have added the innovations in this tool, so that it will be helpful for you to do your reporting work. Now, why to choose as a Power BI as a career path? What are the things that I have mentioned, have compiled in this slide? Because it is a high demand tool in the market. If visualization, they are looking for reporting now. Power BI is a market leader. Wonderful job opportunities, because it requires, it's not only, it may be from educational sector, it may be finance, it may be insurance, it may be retail. In every sector, they are using the reporting tool as Power BI. And one more thing is, no prior coding knowledge is required. If you don't have any knowledge on coding, every person from non-coding background can also learn the Power BI, and no technical knowledge is also required. And it is very easy to learn because it is mostly menu-based option. There is one coding is involved, that is called as DAX. So that we will cover 10 hours of the class. That will be only place where you find some scope of coding in the Power BI. If the person is having some knowledge on basic Excel, it becomes easy for them to understand the DAX functions very easily. If you don't have knowledge, it's not a problem, because we'll start from the scratch and move to the advanced level. And this is a excellent query on low coding perform. Why they are saying low coding? At times of in the Power Pivot in the DAX, there is some coding is involved that they are saying it as low coding or no coding. And totally it is a menu based option. That's why we call it in them as user friendly too. Okay. So this Power BI plus SQL training, it will be of 2 months course duration. Okay. So we are going to launch the classes from tomorrow. So everyone who have attended this demo session, try to post your details to the WhatsApp number here 80966766423. So I can able to contact you. And if you can directly WhatsApp to this number if you are interested to the lunch to continue this Power BI and SQL training. Uh, and give your mobile number in the chat box if you are interested, so that my admin team will able to approach you if you want to continue with this Power BI and SQL course. And first 3 classes will be free, and if you try to attend the sessions, attend the free class, then you try to take the decision. Yeah, it is of total 2 months course. And apart from that, you need to understand what is Power BI Copilot also. It is advanced feature which is introduced in the Power BI. It is that means it is like a smart assistant. That means you will ask the questions in the plain language and it will give the directly visuals to you. Suppose create the reports. It will ask it just show me the sales of last 6 months. Just you write a code, like write the code. It will try to generate the report. Copilot generate the charts for you, showing what are the last 6 months sales. So you ask the questions in the plain line. What is the best selling product last year? So if you type this and it will try to display the results. Okay. So it will also, if you are this copilot is also able to clean your paper data. So if you want to ask fix the date format and mention the format like DD, MM, YY, it will try to fix the date format automatically. If your data contains a duplicate, if you ask give a command to remove the duplicates, it will remove the duplicates in your data. And if you want ask them to create a weekly report, just you type a text based and automatically it will generate the reports for you. So this is a co-pilot advanced feature which are introduced the Power BI. But for this, you need to have some premium license that will cost very high. So any enterprise level organizations who having the high budget will go for the premium licensing. If you have the premium licensing, you can go for Power BI Copilot and you can use this AI feature in the Power BI. And next, in the common future, apart from the Power BI, they are asking the experience in Power BI Fabric as well. That means it is a single stop solution. Okay. That means it will Fabric will combine the tools like Power BI for data storage, Azure Synapse for data integration. So everything for data analysis, data integration. That means one-stop solution will be there that comes under the Microsoft Fabric. That means this Fabric allows you to collect the data, store the data, clean the data, analyze your data, and visualize your data. That means it will make easier to manage large amount of information and get the insights from it. But the problem here is Microsoft Fabric, they are putting their charges, the licensing cost is very high. That's why most of the companies are not adopting. But in coming days, learning the Fabric along with Power BI SQL of Fabric is also will be the additional benefit for you. And after completing this course, after 2 months, we'll adding this Microsoft Fabric uh, uh, course to this curriculum, so that in coming years, if they ask Fabric experience, then it will become easy for you to attend the interviews. But still, there are some companies who are using the Microsoft Fabric, they are asking this experience. So it is good to have knowledge. Power BI Copilot knowledge is also very good to have, so that the chance of shortlisting the interviews will be better. Yeah, these are the some reports that you can see how to download the Power BI desktop, and this technical how to incorporate it. See, once you download the Power BI desktop, it will be looking like this. I will show the Power BI desktop how we will look, and I will try to close this session. Because first you will see, once you install the Power BI, this Power BI to the Power BI desktop, this is taking some time. Yeah, see, this is the Power BI desktop. This is a free tool that you can able to see. Once it will install, just click on. Yeah, great data. See, from here you will connect to the data. From here, tomorrow I will explain how to connect the data. And you have some visuals Power you with the help of these visuals. and once you load the data, you will try to create the reports over here. So how to first, before this, how to download the data and how to install the Power BI desktop, how to connect to the data and how to create the visuals, how to publish the report, how to share the report to the client, that we will be studying in the coming classes. If I explain those things, it becomes very technically heavy for you to understand. But my intention of this particular first session is to understand, to make you know about how the data is generating day by day, what is the need to learn the Power BI, what is the demand for the Power BI in the market, what is the difference between Tableau and Power BI, why they are migrating to the Power BI, and what is the entire Power BI architecture. Okay. Next, I will be ending here. I will stop the recording.